I told you, Kojo Yankson is on stream working from home as usual. It's great times to always use technology, and we've been doing well so far with it. Yeah, Kojo Yankson.
Daddy Roro.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
I love your outfit. You look like Jay-Z's brother.
No resemblance whatsoever. No relation whatsoever either.
Yeah. What are we talking about this morning?
Well, today my message is called Albert and the Bees. I think you'll like it, Ro. You know, we all feel very fortunate every morning to be counted among the living once again. Now, as we often hear people say, we have come this far by grace, right? Now, I agree with the fact that being alive today is an act of grace. But as to the randomness of it, well, I have a slightly different perspective for your consideration. What if your survival is not a coincidence? What if it wasn't by a simple act of random benevolence that you live to see today? What if it wasn't by luck that this morning we are counting you among the living and not the dead? What if it was all very deliberate? You see, no matter where you are, at home, at work, in the car, wherever you are right now, just take a look around you. You will notice patterns in how God created everything. There's always a balance between all things and a purpose for all things. From the tiniest ant to the largest whale, from the smallest atom to the widest ocean, from the most minute molecule to the most magnificent mountain. Every plant, animal, and organism is playing a role in keeping the world turning perfectly on its axis. Every fragment of this planet is playing a unique and irreplaceable role in keeping us all alive. Remove just one element, and we all come crashing down. Albert Einstein is famously quoted to have said, if the bee disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have 4 years to live. Now, if ever there was a man who understood patterns, it was Albert Einstein. Think about it. If bees did not exist to carry pollen from one plant to the other, perhaps about 80% of all plant life would die out. The remaining plants that can reproduce without pollen would be in dangerously short supply, as all animals, including man, would fight over them until they also would run out. Then the animals would die. Man might be the last to go, but with no plants or animals to keep the ecological cycle of Earth alive, the planet itself would die beneath us, leaving the few humans who could survive those circumstances to have nothing to survive on. It might take longer than Einstein's 4 years, but our death as a race would be inevitable, all because of the bee. So, my dear friend, it starts to become clear that the intelligent design with which God made all things is clear and visible everywhere you look. He didn't just make us as individual miracles. He connected all his miracles to each other in the same way that every single organ and tissue and sinew and vein in your body is connected to one another, so that the removal of one affects the function of all the others. That is how each and every one of us has been designated a function without which the very earth will fall. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. You are alive today. It's a miracle. Yeah, but it's not random. You have been preserved for a purpose. You remain for a reason. If God has not taken you away yet, it's because without you, we all die. The Royal Commonwealth Society Africa has an amazing campaign. The key messages are, united we stand, and there's only one you. This really epitomizes the message that I'm conveying to you today. The decisions you make today to stay indoors or to go outdoors, to wear a mask or not to wear a mask, to wash your hands or to keep them dry, those decisions affect us all. And without you playing your part by keeping yourself safe, none of us will be safe. We need each other. We need each other. You protect me, I protect you. That's the only way we will all survive this pandemic. That's the thought that I would like you to approach the rest of this time with. Whoever you are, whatever you do, whether you're rich or poor, educated or illiterate, employed or unemployed, married, single, divorced, orphan, parent, child, Christian, Muslim, black or white, please know that you are here for a purpose, and the world will not survive unless you fulfill your purpose. That makes you the most important human in the world. Act accordingly. My name is Kojo Yankson, and God's plan doesn't work without me. Good morning, Ghana.
In our first story, Joy News is learning that at least 10 frontline workers at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital and the Korle Bu Polyclinic have tested positive for coronavirus, a situation that was earlier reported to have led to a total shutdown of the polyclinic. However, our checks are also indicating saying that portions of the facility had been cordoned off with OPD services still in operation though. Nancy Emefajiradosi brings you the latest.
We are at the Korle Bu Polyclinic, where earlier we understood that some staff numbering about 10 had been infected with COVID and that the place had been closed down. In fact, when we got here, we still realized that some portions of the facility had been cordoned off. You can see that from the accountant side has been closed down. Well, yes, the OPD section, part of the OPD section is still in operations. You've seen people trooping in there. Now, what we do understand is that they are not accepting admissions into the facility because of the incident that happened. I have been trying to speak to the public relations officer who has been tight-lipped on the matter, except to say that the places had been closed down just to disinfect the place, but they are back to business, and that the places that have been left open is just for people to observe the various protocols, social distancing protocols, and so the facility is back in full operation. That is what we have been told. Meanwhile, from our checks here, and it appears some section is still under lock and key. Reporting from the Korle Bu Polyclinic, I am Nancy Emefajiradosi.
In the Ashanti region, health personnel at Ramase Community Clinic near Kumasi are providing services under trying conditions due to poor and inadequate medical equipment. The facility, which serves 2 communities, has no standard delivery bed at the maternity ward, and as the fight against COVID-19 rages, personal protective equipment are also in short supply. Nana Sinsu Mensah has more.
An improvised rusty metal bed, which itself poses risk to women in labor, is all the clinic can boast of. In the event of power outage during surgery, personnel resort to lamps and torchlights because there is no standby generator. Principal physician assistant at the clinic, Juliana Komio-Opoku, laments the situation has dire consequences on care. She says the clinic's capacity to generate funds internally is so low it's unable to procure medical equipment to fill the gaps.
Now, because of the coronavirus, we will need more PPEs for us, such as the Veronica bucket, the masks, the hair caps, and then the others. And then we don't have a generator here. We use the national grid, and sometimes the light goes off. So when it happens like that, we use chargeable lamps. So we'll be glad if individuals or NGOs can give us a generator which can support our work. And then we'll also be happy if we get a delivery bed to support our work here at the facility.
You know that at least you have some IGF, so what do you do with it? Have you tried buying it and then it got spoiled or what?
Yeah, you know, here is a health center and then we don't have enough money to purchase the delivery bed, and it's quite expensive. Yes, so we will be glad if any NGO can support us with that.
So how do you help the pregnant women to deliver since you don't have the delivery bed? What goes on? Tell us.
We have the one we have here was locally made, so it's not so comfortable putting women's leg the left and the right. So the delivery bed, that one is movable and it can adjust it according to the height of the staff who is doing the delivery. But the one we have here is difficult to do those adjustments. Yes, so if the person is tall or short, you have no means of adjusting it. You just have to cope with it.
International Women's NGO Elite Ladies USA has meanwhile provided some relief with a donation of some surgical beds, PPEs, and anti-COVID-19 sanitary materials. Gifty Sapoma is a local representative of the organization.
Yeah, Elite Ladies Club USA. We have our branch in Ghana, so once a while they do organization. They organize themselves to come and help their country. So this season, Corona season, they decided to come to their own country, Ghana, to support us. So they brought these PPEs to support this season. That's why we are here.
Okay, we have to do the newspapers.
I just wanted to say it's a beautiful song, by the way. One of those pieces that you want to listen to, particularly at this time, when you think it's all dark and everything is gone, you're losing it all. Just remember that at the center, you know, when the center is holding, no matter how you shake or how things shake around you, you'll still be standing because it is not your will, it is not your power. There's something a lot greater than what you think you're feeling right now. Just focus on that. Shall we do the papers?
We're in the spirit.
No, we're not. Not the way you say it. Okay, so let's do the newspapers. I will take you through the Daily Graphic and the Daily Statesman newspaper and the New Crusader Guide newspaper. So straight away, let's begin. Let's start. I'm a very traditional person, so I'll go with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Here's what's on the front page. A nurse at the University of Ghana Medical Center being sanitized after duty, and that picture taken by Abel Hansen is on the front page of the Daily Graphic. You see it in a bit, but the banner headline says, "Our duty, national call, health workers determined to win COVID-19 war." And I like the fact that we're focusing on those at the front line trying to fight and stop the spread of COVID-19. So Daily Graphic also essentially doing a similar thing today. Also on the front page, and we are working on it so we can put it on the screen for you to see, Unipass keeps importers stranded. That's the angle of the story, full story on page 16. Ahead of May Day, ICU urges workers to help fight COVID-19. Don't aid people to cross borders illegally. That's a call by the GIS. Special supplement on May Day. It's in the paper. Well, usually we'll be making such a big deal about May Day, but because of obviously what we're going through with this COVID-19, we're not even necessarily observing it, except that, have you seen that release that says tomorrow is a holiday? Anybody spotted it?
No, I haven't
From the
spotted
Interior
it.
Minister.
Well,
Okay, so this is actually not the front page. This is the special supplement in the center spread, in the middle of the paper. It says, AYICO, let's fight COVID-19 together. Fight against COVID-19, shared responsibility. Create more jobs for youth, a call by NATS. So you can check out everything about May Day and what workers are saying, everything about workers really in this supplement. On the back page of the graphic, though, frontline worker, health workers in Western region cope with stigma. And I must say, when we put out the video of the doctor who tested positive for COVID online, somebody was asking, why is she covered? And then I like the response that somebody else came to give, which says it's because of stigmatization. Because of stigmatization. We see in other countries people clapping, people proud, but you come to some places in Africa, sadly, it's not the same. We're living on different planets. Ministry seeks legal backing to restrict soya bean exports. Also another story on the back of the Daily Graphic newspaper. So let's jump into the New Crusader Guide newspaper from the graphic, I think. All right, so let's do the New Crusader Guide newspaper. Front page says NDC split hurts over Akufo-Addo's 88 hospitals projects. Lands Commission in hot waters over multiple registration of lands as police pursue for answers. Staunch Mahama chief drift towards NPP is also another story here. Gushegu NPP executives petition Akufo-Addo as party faces danger of losing seat to NDC. The last headline will be taken from the Daily Statesman. So headlines from the Daily Statesman newspaper. We don't have running mates due to COVID-19, says NDC General Secretary. No decision on lifting ban on public gatherings, President declares. And the paper is announcing that the cover price goes up. So from 3 cities, it goes up to 3 cities, actually, from 250 to 3 cities. Just so you know, if you're grabbing the paper next week. Did they say next week? May 4, effective May 4.
Yeah.
On the back page, Thomas Partey shows love to Stonebwoy over Angloga Junction album.
That was a great album.
Yes,
great
it
album.
is. People are still a bit confused why it is called Angloga Junction. Angloga is my hometown, by the way. That's Stonebwoy's hometown too. We put our hometown on the album. Hopefully we'll be able to share properly the Angloga story with all of you. Let's see.
There's one he has with is it Kerry Hilson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful song. Beautiful. Nominate or something of the song.
Yeah. Hey, Roland.
Charlie.
You're saying that thing like you don't know, but you know. You've been listening every day. Okay, so that's it for me, the Daily Statesman. Guys, Kojo, is it Kojo going?
Yes, Kojo is going. Kojo?
Yeah, I've been talking for quite a while, but nobody in the production team seems to be paying attention. So I was trying to say
Sorry. You know, last time we invited the lady in the studio, Love Amy Sam. She does sign language, so we decided to activate that.
No, actually, I was saying that I know why the record is called Angloga Junction.
Okay, why is that?
That's where Stonebwoy met Kerry Hilson. You know, she was in Ghana. She was in Ghana, and I don't know what she was doing in the Volta region, but Stonebwoy bumped into her at Angloga Junction, and so this whole concept to do the song and the whole album came from there. Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Mucho Angloga here. Mucho Angloga.
Well, Kojo
means I come from Angloga.
Well, Kojo, so this is what happened. I think
there is no Angloga Junction in Angloga.
So that's what Stonebwoy is saying on his own Instagram. That's what he said. He's written it there on his Instagram.
I have to say, I watched a live stream between Stonebwoy and Kerry Hilson for their fans. And actually, it was, I think there's somebody related to Stonebwoy called Selassie. I don't know him. And they met at an airport, and it's true that they did a collaboration. So I'm not sure. Kerry Hilson, though, hasn't been to Ghana, but promises to be here in December for Stonebwoy's concert. Yes.
So you see, we created Angloga Junction.
Stonebwoy has made me a liar.
No, you're not.
I'm not sure you're lying. I think that he just wants to create a vibe for the album. So that's what he did. Yeah. Because anyway, I watched that live stream, actually.
There's something unique we're doing on the AM show, and that's why I started with, my hometown thing. We will take people through the towns in our hometown called Angloga. We're going to discover Angloga tomorrow, God willing.
Well, that'll be nice. So it means Stonebwoy will be on the show? Or?
I'm not telling.
Okay. All right.
As for you to tune in, just stay with us.
All right. So let me talk about something I can actually be accurate about. Okay, so I have the Ghanaian Times banner headline this morning. Ban Okada now over social distancing defiance. This is actually a call coming from the public, according to the Ghanaian Times. Also, police grab 1,326 persons nationwide for COVID-19 offenses. This is a story I would have loved for us to talk about. And of course, for things like flouting public gathering, social distancing directives, and so forth. This is why these people have been arrested, 1,326 of them. Eligibility of special prosecutor, the Supreme Court will give their judgment on the 13th of May. You know, this thing has been pending for quite a while. It was the former Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, who took this matter up at the Supreme Court. And we are going to hear the ruling on the 13th of May. Clearing agents and importers stranded at Tema Port as GCNet shuts down. This is something that we really need to make some time for. Center Spread has all these stories plus this one. Nyonkopa Cocoa donates $25,000 in sanitary ware to Cocoa Board. On the back page of the Ghanaian Times this morning, Upper West Regional Hospital operating under capacity. That is what the medical director of the hospital has to say. Also, Bongo District Assembly awards 5 projects on contract. Okay. All right. Now, I've got the daily guide as well. Let me very quickly go through the banner headline, the headlines of the daily guide. If we have it, let's bring it up. And the first one is NDC sweats for running mate. Tension in Fomena, Kumu, over hospital is also on the front page. Driver kills cop. Che backs health minister. And Obinim slaps Kennedy Japan. Slaps in quotes. Have you guys been following this whole Obinim Kennedy Japan saga?
I have, and I think I jumped on it after Florence Obinim. I had no clue what was going on.
Okay, you are a big Florence Obinim fan.
I am not. I happened to see Kadi. Kadi is a showbiz presenter, watching a video, and that's the first time that I saw it. But I see that, that people want something to divert their minds, from COVID. So it's a nice distraction.
Yeah, this is the COVID sideshow, So many people are into it, following it on social media. But it also raises some interesting issues, around our organization of religion, men of God. And in fact, it also raises some serious broadcasting ethics questions, It's an interesting conversation. I wonder if we can make time for it sometime, but without obviously,
But you sound like you've been following from the very beginning, so that's a conversation that you can have.
Yeah.
I will be sitting back and watching and enjoying.
Sorry?
No, I said I'll be sitting back and just enjoying it.
Are you going to be Switzerland on this one?
Okay, well, let's see the papers you have.
Yeah, so I have the Chronicle, and Daily Dispatch newspaper starts with the Chronicle. It has on the front page, Amidu sits on tenterhooks. The story is captured as saying, and adding, a Supreme Court defers age judgment again, all on the front page of the Chronicle. Also there, Police Probe Lands Commission. It has Mr. Asumatreme, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, captured or attached to that headline. And MPP primary gets murkier. Meanwhile, there's an editorial on the number of cases we have, and it says 1,671 COVID-19 cases in Ghana is very scary, on the front page of the Chronicle, and Ghanaians must wake up according to this editorial, and it's a concern about the number of cases. But look, if you look at all the extrapolations that have been done, we shouldn't be worried, even though Kojo, based on his analysis, is worried that we could have about 15,000 cases based on what the incremental numbers are as officially have been reported. It also speaks volumes as to whether we could have enough time to do this testing based on the resources we have. Let's go to the Daily Dispatch newspaper. It will be on your screens. It has on the front page a number of stories as well, also highlighting all the related issues. It says, we have not decided when public gatherings can resume, and it's attributed to the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Or relatedly on COVID-19, these 5 things can kill you faster. Avoid them. Get to read on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. Ghana's first presidential election on April 27, 1960. Takes you back in history. Tension, though, is mounting in Ivory Coast. As we're told, a former prime minister is jailed 20 years for corruption. Alassane Ouattara is no more standing for the next election, but there's a lot of tension. We also do know that Gbagbo had been in turmoil due to all these political wranglings following all that. All right. Okay, any pick? Kojo, what are you looking at?
Well, I thought it would be interesting for us to look at this thing with the Okada. This call now is coming from the public. according to the Ghanaian Times. They say that, look, there's no way you can exercise social distancing on Okada. And in fact, the presidential, the executive instrument specifically said that motorbikes can only carry one passenger. That means the rider only. You know, so that makes the Okada business immediately illegal, if you ask me. But of course, Mama V, perhaps you can give us a bit more education. You've been paying a lot of attention to the executive instruments. But to my mind, if the president's directive is that only one person can be on a motorbike, then unless you, the Okada, are paying to ride the bike, you can't really have an Okada business. So it's illegal. It's been made illegal, if you ask me. But the public seem to be concerned that it's still happening, and I guess it is. I mean, when you look out, when you're looking around in town, you can see a number of motorbikes carrying more than one person. But there is some sensitivity around that, you know, guys, because these same Okada riders are people who are considered to have to be in that business because they've been unable to find employment elsewhere. Many of them are considered to have found their way into the Okada business because they were unable to find employment elsewhere. And there is a concern around creating, you know, an inability for such people to, you know, have an economic, you know, to make money. You know, and the question is, what would be the alternative? Should there be an alternative? Should there be some sort of intervention, as we're seeing the government do for others? You know, paying electricity bills and paying frontline workers extra and all of that. Should we be thinking about groups like this who, by virtue of the directive, immediately their work becomes illegal?
Well, I guess it's a concern for everybody. I'm a great patron of Okada, not in these times though, but it's also because I've had some great time using them in Nigeria, in Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, I believe even in Benin.
So you're discussing the subject that it's not, sounds like it's not illegal in Ghana. There's nothing like Okada business.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Let's do my jawline, by the way. This is something that we can spend a bit
actually,
time
actually,
on.
that is interesting, Mama V. Is it true?
Yes, it is.
Is illegal?
It is.
Yes.
You can't do.
Yes.
You can't
use it for commercial purposes.
Not for commercial purposes. It's for so if you're like a dispatch rider for a company or for a restaurant. You can use it for. But not for passengers. Not for carrying passengers. It is not illegal to carry a passenger on a motorbike, right? No, that's the one that's.
It's not illegal to carry somebody if you're using it as a private.
Yeah. So if you stop an Okada and you want to prosecute him, you have to prove that he was carrying that passenger commercially, you see? That's the reason why I asked the question, is it actually illegal? Is it practical? You know,
well, maybe the riding is not illegal, but using it for commercial purposes is illegal. I mean, that's what. But you are saying, how do we prove that, which is difficult?
Yeah.
So let's discuss this sometime, but let's do my jawline just before we run off. Otherwise, our director is going to cut off off air. So on my jawline, 53 abandoned uncompleted health facilities discovered, and this is following the health minister's pronouncement that we haven't abandoned any project, and taking the time to take us through all the projects that he claims they have not abandoned. But here we go, 53 abandoned uncompleted health facilities discovered. That's coming from the coalition of NGOs in health. So you can read more details on myjoyonline.com. That's also on our show this morning. We'll discuss that extensively. COVID-19 crisis calls for a national discourse on health system. According to a former Ghana Health Service boss, no decision has been taken on when public gatherings can resume, according to the president. And this is a tragic one. Top Manhattan ER doctor commits suicide, shaken by coronavirus onslaught. And this is not the first time a medical practitioner has taken her life because of COVID-19. Catholic Church endorses Joy News's Arriva Alive campaign, and there are plenty more headlines that you can look at, including my conversation with the doctor who tested positive. A lot of people have been interested in that story. So if you missed it, you can always catch up. It's on myjoyonline.com.
Well, so we have to go for a break. And good morning to you. Say you're watching as you work with the ECOWAS office. Atmam Thompson, good morning to you. You say you like Kojo very much. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Roland, just say it. I mean, like, what's the challenge in that? So you've communicated. That's good. Listen, on our show today, we're tracking what the tertiary institutions, how learning and teaching is ongoing. Some of them had mid-semester exams just before the initial lockdown and this whole COVID. So how are they doing with the virtual learning, with the online learning? We've got quite a number of student leaders joining us for a conversation. So if you're in a tertiary institution, you want to share your experience with us, stay with us right after sports. We'll have that conversation.
Hi there, very good morning to you. My name is Benedict. It's time to talk sports here on AM Show. In our very first story this morning, head of the Ghana FA Medical Committee, Dr. Adam Baba, has been speaking about the impact of COVID-19 on the local game. Now he's admonishing clubs to monitor their players as they stay in their respective homes.
COVID-19 has come with its peculiarity, and the sports has been hard hit. So the problem is, after COVID-19, what next? We must also adopt means of monitoring the sportsmen, our footballers. We just don't ask them to go home, stay till the situation improves, and we call them back. If we call them back, it's just like releasing them off season and coming to start afresh again. The way forward is for team managers, handlers, to monitor their players, directly or indirectly. Directly might be a remote method. Indirectly, talk to them. The coach or the managers must be in direct contact, calling them, let them send you pictures and videos of how they spend their times. Exercises is not forbidden, but it's just that you must limit the number of people you gather at a particular place to exercise. We don't wait till COVID is over and we say, fine, everything is over, now let's start. It means that we are starting afresh. So my little advice is that, well, managers should think outside the box. Think of some innovations that will keep their players active, and the only way you do that is monitoring. Insist that they are on their toes individually. And bet you me, when the league starts, it's just going to be a continuation of where they ended. With the players, this whole thing, we are all hoping, will end pretty soon. And it must not end when they are starting. And to achieve that, they must not stay idling. They must train as though the competition is still ongoing. So with that, as soon as the competition starts, it's going to be a continuation, but not a beginning.
So that was head of the Ghana Football Association Medical Committee, Dr. Adam Baba, speaking there.
I have to tell you about all that transpired when the Joy Clean Ghana campaign decided to visit some shops at the Kaneshie Market, and it's where we had 5 of them being locked up by environmental health officers of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And it's all because they failed to observe any of the protocols as introduced to curb the spread of coronavirus. Now, the action, according to official, follows notices distributed to almost every shop in Accra since February, requiring them to comply. Nancy Emma Fajradosi was with the team and is reporting.
From shop to shop, when we get to a shop and they do not have any of the kits that we ask them to provide, we'll close the shop and then prosecute the shop owner.
The first stop was a frozen food shop. They had no washing facility, no sanitizer, and showed complete disregard for social distancing.
You have been informed that at the entrance of your business frontage, you have to provide a Veronica bucket here. You talk of washing hands. So where will they wash their hands? We want to see where your Veronica bucket is. Where is it?
I ran and come my boss. So when he's come back, bring the Veronica bucket.
Right now that you inform your boss. So for a period that we've been educating this thing, it's now that you have informed your boss.
The owner admitted he was wrong, but added that he had kept the sanitizer in his bag.
So for you not having the Veronica bucket at this point, at this time, no sanitizer, you have to come out. You have sanitizer, so where is the Veronica bucket?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, where is the sanitizer that you have? It's in your bag. So if customers come, they have to come to your bag to take it. Master, get the place ready. Get the place ready. Put off the electrical joggers all off and come out. We'll close the place. When you get
all the customers were asked to leave, and the shop was locked.
Water to go and sell. Please go out. You can. None of you is in. Is wearing a nose mask. Have you? Where is it? But you buy the thing and you put it in your pocket. It means you see, this is not your room. So he's writing a notice for them, and it will follow out with a summons so that we take it from there.
We found a kitchenware shop. From a distance, we saw no hand washing facility, and the shop attendants were without nose mask.
So the law says that when we come around and then you refuse to provide these protocols, kits, we should take action against you. So as it stands now, we are going to lock your shop. Please, where is your mask? You can't even find it. Carry the things inside for us to lock the place. Send the things inside. We are locking the shop.
A shop attendant nearby came to plead.
And you know, smack no one. You better look at bucket way. Only Veronica bucket. Ah, you can have bucket in see her. And it's you. And it's young to water. Madam.
If you misbehave, I'll put you inside cells now.
Only to find out her shop also lacked hand washing facilities, sanitizers needed to prevent COVID-19 infections. Just opposite the shop is a beverage shop.
Have you heard of coronavirus? Have you heard of it?
Inspector Sitanga found a bucket and a bowl, which the shopkeeper claimed was set aside for hand washing.
Your hand washing basin at the front of the store here. Where's your Veronica bucket at the front of the store?
We want to buy some.
You don't have some? You don't have some?
But we are using this one.
Listen, you don't have some. Don't tell me you normally use. There is a prescribed Veronica bucket nationally that everybody is using. We didn't say put water in the bucket. When somebody comes, you take a cup and fetch and wash his hands. I take the bucket of the cup, fetch, wash my hands, put it down. A, B has come. Massa. No, it's not about the sanitizer. Listen to the process. This thing is supposed to be on top, outside the store here, with a tap. We come and wash our hands underneath. It's not about you putting the cup there. How many hands pass through the cup? It means already there is contamination and transfer of the organism. Do you agree? So you don't say put cup on the bucket for us to come and take and fetch and wash hands before we do. Please, so come out, we lock the place, we prosecute you, and then others will emulate same. So please out from the store.
They were also instructed to close. Meanwhile, this detergent shop had all recommended facilities to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
We will say we are very happy, and we encourage that you should try and also educate your friends who are also selling.
This pastry shop were operating under unhygienic conditions, and they had a dirty basin reserved for hand washing.
They display for sale the pastries here, and this is the production room. Looking around, they don't even have any Veronica bucket or any hand protocols kits here. They don't have alcohol-based sanitizer. They don't have a Veronica bucket, and some of the workers are not even on masks. Should somebody have the virus in the hands and the person come and wash the hands in the bucket, the virus will be waiting in the water. So if I come with my clean hands and come and put them inside this water, I'll pick the virus away. That is why we are encouraging the Veronica bucket. That flows the water down and you wash it down. Nobody will have contact with the water that you have washed. But look at what they are doing here. This one is not.
Just as the place was being closed down, we found an electrical shop with Veronica buckets. The owner had also marked an area to restrict movement of customers.
I ensure that I have a bucket.
A bucket,
you
a
have your
washing hand
Veronica bucket.
yeah.
Okay.
Which I direct every customer to wash before he comes, and I give the space, like as you can see.
Okay.
Nobody climbs up to meet me.
Okay, you've already provided. You provided this so that nobody will cross in. So there is distance between you and then the customer and you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what have you done again? Okay, fine. So
it.
you have your Veronica bucket.
Yeah.
You have your sanitizer. Where's your sanitizer? But the sanitizer shouldn't be inside. It should be close to where the hand wash basin
I thought that anybody that washes his hands is free.
Okay.
But I'm the only one that uses the sanitizer because I touch the money.
Okay. Fine, you've done well.
Meanwhile, Madam Florence Kuche is warning the train could stop at your shop next week.
And we're calling her live. She's right on the line. And Florence Kuche, the Public Health Director of the Assembly, is live. Good morning to you. Now, from what you saw, does it ultimately mean that this is the exercise that's going to be continued to ensure that people comply?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, and let me say good morning to our cherished listeners. Yes, what has just started, that is where we are going to continue. We can see that people are feeling reluctant to comply to these simple rules and regulations that is going to help us prevent this disease. We served notices on the 16th of March. Over 6,000 notices to shops and offices for them to provide the protocol, the hygiene protocols kit. And up till now, people are still refusing to provide those things. I don't understand.
So you started sharing notices or giving the notices since February, but you decided to only check whether they were complying until now. Is that what you're saying?
When we shared the notices before the lockdown, we had some checks around the CBD, the Central Business District. In fact, when you go to Okanshi, I can attest that about 99% of the shops there, all of them has this hand washing protocol kits. So after the lockdown, we said, let us strip down from the Central Business District and then come to Kaneshi to come and see what is also going on there. For us only to get there to see that people are refusing to abide by all these rules. And let me tell you, my brother, what we have just started, we are going to stiffen the punishment. Any shop that we close, those 5 shops that we close, it's just unfortunate that tomorrow is a holiday. Next week, Monday, they will be going to court. And it will be served as deterrent to anybody that is not ready to help us prevent this disease. We know that this coronavirus disease is a preventive disease. It is only through preventive measures that we can help fight this disease. There is no medicine or drug that has been found out yet to use in treating this disease. It is only preventive measures. And how are we going to prevent ourselves? By washing our hands under running water with soap and water, using alcohol-based sanitizers, and then wearing our nose mask to protect yourself and protect your neighbor from contacting the disease. Because as we stand now, the community contamination is becoming very high. When you take only the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, there's the 3 sub-metros that we have. The number of positive cases we have is so alarming. And it is heartbreaking that you educate somebody to do this and then the next time the person is doing the opposite. You go to people, they have these nose masks, they put them in their pocket and they sit there. You ask, they remove it from their pocket. When you ask, why are you not wearing? I don't feel comfortable in wearing it. It's better to not feel comfortable in wearing it than to wear. Or than to be contracted with these diseases and then you go and suffer. So we are entreating all the general public to put on these face masks because there is law that is backing us. People are thinking that there is no law, so nobody can be prosecuted. But we want them to know that there is law that is backing us to do this work, and people are going to be prosecuted.
So ultimately, you want to come down hard on these shops or these traders. But is that being replicated across the various markets that you have within the metropolis?
Yes, please. It has been replicated. As I'm speaking with you now, since last week up till now, after the president left the lockdown, officers are being placed at various markets within the Central Business District, ensuring the wearing of these masks. My brother, it will interest you to know that You advise somebody to wear a mask, and the person will ruin insults on you. But you just have to take it with a good set, because it is your duty to educate the person. Because some people don't even know the need of wearing this or the importance of wearing the mask. That is why they sometimes insult you. AMA distributed not less than 10,000 masks outside there to the people within our jurisdiction. Yes, the people are refusing to comply.
Okay, so what's the latest step that you're going to take then as a health directorate?
Yes, so that is what I'm saying. So the latest steps we are going to do now, let me say, in the market sectors, from next week, Monday going, the social system, people are not trying to comply by it. We are coming out with different kind of tips, and we'll distribute them to the market women as to who comes today and who comes tomorrow. For the wearing of the nose masks, we are placing our task force on all vantage points. When we meet you in the public and you are not on mask, we'll just arrest you, put you in the car, and send you to court, so that people will see how serious it is. Because Ghanaians, some of us, we are playing with our lives. People are not just ready to change from their attitude. Changing is something that is very difficult for a typical Ghanaian. Change to be healthy. People don't want to change to be healthy. They want to remain in their 19. This is very bad.
Well, thank you very much. Florence Kuchi is the Public Health Director for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And they had just started with our Joy Clean Ghana campaign also present, inspecting various shops because notices or directives had been given to shops, the shop owners, their occupants, to make sure they complied with the needed protocols in preventing coronavirus. But it looked like 5 of these shops, Bays, Akanishi, and we, when they of course brought you those pictures, did not been complying. We'll keep looking at this subject moving on. But next we'll have a discussion. Public universities and how they are undertaking continuous education and learning. How is that being done? Are the various student bodies themselves satisfied with the way the management or administrators of these universities are doing this? We will treat this next with Mama Yusuf Abwaji, having these interactions with various SRC presidents of all the universities in Ghana, right here.
Now, all universities in Ghana have closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. No in-person classes, at least for now, and graduation pushed forward for those who are due to graduate, at least in May. Universities are trying to make decisions in a fluid and unprecedented environment, obviously. So how have students adjusted to online teaching and learning? Let's meet some student leaders from the University of Ghana, Legon, the University of Cape Coast, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, University of Professional Studies, and from GIMPA, the Law Students Association. We've got some gentlemen joining us. Let's meet them and say hello. Isaac J. Hyde is the NUCS president. He also joins us via Zoom. Isaac Hajiman is SRC president, University of Ghana. Joseph Agbazuka is SRC president, GIJ. Joseph, can you just turn over your phone so we can see you properly on the screen? Also joining us is Cornelius Boateng. He's the Law Student Association president of GIMPA. We're going to have an interaction and check how it is going with the online. We know initially some of them had great concerns. Now, if you're a student and you're watching, a student of any tertiary institution in Ghana, you can also join us with comments on WhatsApp. Join us via WhatsApp. We'll activate the phone lines as well, so you can also join us. But for now, your student leaders are on with us. So let me say good morning to you, gentlemen, again. If you can hear me, kindly respond. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Okay, great. Good to see you. So let's start with the University of Ghana, Legon. First of all, explain to us how this whole learning online is going with you students at the University of Ghana.
Okay. Once again, a very good morning to cherished viewers and listeners as well. From University of Ghana, University of course, we prior to this time, the university ran a trial test of 2 weeks, which of course ended about 2 weeks ago. And now the mainstream, that is e-learning, has been rolled out. And the directives were released by the university before the commencement of the mainstream e-learning. Within the provisions made that, so for instance, 50 to 70% of assessment would serve as continuous assessment. So that is, it will be done through quizzes, tests, and assignments. But there was an advisory given that predominantly it should be assignments that must be given to students to constitute the 70%, 50 to 70% of the total grade. And then mind you, that prior to COVID-19, some departments had also, written some tests. So that is why room is given, so that if there is such a situation, then of course it adds up to the total of 70% of continuous assessment. As well, for the main exams, it is a take-home exams, which constitutes about 30% of the total score. So this then means that students would have a continuous assessment of 70 with a take-home examination of 30. Now, as an SRC, our focal point was with respect to people who are in the minority, that is, people who cannot duly partake in the e-learning. So we also initiated talks with management that, of course, for us to, holistically embrace the whole idea of e-learning, there needs to be a provision for people who will be disadvantaged. And so when the rollout was made, of course, there's been a provision for people who might not be able to partake in e-learning, be it as a result of network connectivity, hardware issues, that is, those who do not have access to laptops and even mobile phones. So in that regard, a 3-week learning, intensive learning has been initiated within the university community, where when COVID-19 is over and then, the university resumes, a 3-week period will be allocated for people who couldn't partake in the e-learning for continuous learning. Now, this would comprise of an intensive learning, which would be away from the normal learning we know within the class. Okay. After which, students will be subjected to a week of revision, after which they would also, write their exams. Okay. Subsequently, there is also another provision which, of course, students can also choose from. Students have a 3-year period to actually write the exams that they're able to do as a result of this COVID-19. If you are a student and then you are not in the e-learning and as well, you're not able to also, partake in the first, in a 2 weeks intensive learning, then of course, there is also another chance for you to take up the courses within a period of 3 years. So let's say you are in level 200 and then a second semester of level 200 and then you are not able to partake in either the e-learning on a 3 weeks intensive period of learning, then of course you can choose to take it let's say if you have 5 courses, you can take 2 in level 300 and another 2 in level 400. You get it? So
Isaac, that sounds very extensive. I'll come to you for a reaction in terms of what students make of it. But let's also touch base and check out what's happening on the other campuses as well. So let's hear from Cornelius. Cornelius, you're president of the Law Student Association, the GIMPA Law Faculty. What can you also share with us in terms of how the e-learning is going?
Okay. First of all, let me say a good morning to your viewers. So far, we considered the whole online learning to be a progressive step, considering the times we are in. We had a few challenges, it ranges from data, ranges to the fact that not all students live in areas where you have good internet connectivity. We also had issues concerning power crisis and how to make up for students who would be affected by issues like that. Consideration also had to be given to persons who were not IT savvy. And then also the fact that students do not own some of these devices, which could take applications such as the Zoom. And then in our school, we have the LMS system. I don't know what is being used in other schools. We also had issues like that. So not all students have devices where you can use the Zoom and then also this LMS. Okay. Generally, the acceptance was not that bad. We don't have a fair idea what is going to happen. And so the best thing for us to do now was to go online. Of course, it will come with certain challenges, but then we are managing one way or the other. We are managing. So I think generally it's been a good system.
But Cornelius, just hang in there for me. When you listen to Isaac from the University of Ghana, they seem to have a very comprehensive. It sounded like all areas have been covered. Do you have a structure like that at GIMPA?
It's something we had to call for. But for now, I think that what management has provided is that if for whatever reason you are unable to join in for the online learning, you have the option of share. We think that is a bit too harsh, but we are still in talks with them. Okay, so yours is still work in progress. Let's move to Joseph. Joseph is the SRC president of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Joseph, tell us about the plans in your institution in terms of the online learning. How is it going?
Okay, let me say a very good morning to all your listeners. The thing is that when the whole pandemic broke out, management came up with a directive that all lectures should be migrated to online platforms. But as a matter of fact, with GIJ, we don't have any online system of learning. Until this pandemic broke out, there was nothing like e-learning or online studies at GIJ. What most lecturers or classes would do would be having conversations on WhatsApp, that's all. But when it broke out, lecturers had to devise their own means of conducting their lectures. So some would use Zoom Cloud meetings, others would use Telegram, others would still maintain the WhatsApp for discussions, and others would also use Google Classroom. So there wasn't any kind of comprehensive system that is just peculiar to all lecturers, but each lecturer would have to choose what was favorable for him or her. So that's basically what has been happening over the past 4 to 5 weeks since the pandemic broke out.
Okay, but you have a clear picture in terms of how you're progressing.
Oh yeah. Currently, when the whole issue started, there were concerns from students, issues that had to do with data. Some students had also left the various places where there was very poor network in such areas. There were some students who also complained of not having devices to be able to join such online studies. So all these issues came up. We tried getting management to get them addressed, and management is trying to put up a website that would be zero. How do you call it? That will be accessed at a zero cost. So we still don't have a unique system. It is still being worked on, but it is just these platforms that are being used per the discretion of lecturers.
Okay, great. I'll come back to you a bit later on so you can tell me about the structure for the exams, because I know something has been put out and the reaction, whether students are comfortable with that or not. We're billed to also be joined in this conversation by the SRC president of the University of Cape Coast and the UPSA. But let's speak to the NUGS president, because he's also joining us via Zoom on this conversation. Mr. President, you represent the entire students' groupings in the country. So collectively, what has come to your table as NUGS president in terms of teaching and learning online?
Good morning, Mamavi, and your cherished listeners. Just as my presidents have iterated, these are some of the concerns, issues about accessibility to the network, issues about school fees. As you're aware, we have over 34,000 students who are beneficiaries of the student loans who are yet to be paid by government, and for which reason they have not been able to have access because institutions require you to pay your fees before you can access some of these e-learning platforms. A bit not all institutions. Then again, issues about data. The difficulty about this LMS is that, yes, we know some schools have done some interventions of negotiating with the telcos to zero their platforms. But majority of the private universities do not have learning management systems on their campuses. And for that matter, they resort to third parties like the Google Classroom and the Zoom platform, which is highly data consuming. And we have a situation where we have a case of double jeopardy where students are being asked to pay school fees and at the same time buy data for their classroom. Now, school fees has two components. We have the residential user facility fee and academic user facility fee. At this stage, even on the academic user facility fee, the components will be the use of the lights, the use of the classroom materials, and of course, lectures. Now, we are not going to the classroom, and so it's a bit more of an extra challenge when you're asking students to pay school fees and at the same time go and buy data. And so when you put all these things together, and of course, the issue of writing final exams online, knowing the network challenges we have in the country, it is not specific to the hinterlands, but even in Accra here, and somewhere in some, places which are very well developed, you still have network challenges. And so if you ask students to go and write final exams online, it's a major problem. And this is what our engagements with governments and the relevant stakeholders like the National Commission for Tertiary Education, the National Accreditation Board, the Vice Chancellor of Ghana, and the ministry has been. And so far, so good. I think that there is some developments. Maybe I should go on and you ask me the question.
We will come to, and then we will also, I need you, if you're watching us, to also get in touch with me via WhatsApp. We're going to put the number on the screen. If you're a student in any of the institutions, send me a WhatsApp. Let's get your views in terms of how you're making progress with what has been outlined. Let's come to you, Isaac. There's a clear picture in terms of the upcoming exams at the University of Ghana. So tell us particularly about the exams, the nature, as in how it's going to take, and then also tell us about those who are due to graduate. What is the plan? Do I still have Isaac? Because Isaac seemed to be disconnected. So let me come to you, Joseph. Because
if you could come again.
Isaac, is that you? Okay, yeah, that's you, Isaac. Isaac, I wanted you to take us through the plan for the upcoming exams, because you say that for assessments, 50 to 70% will be turned into assignments, not the regular quizzes, what had been structured. So this is assignments for the 50 to 70% in terms of the assessment. But in terms of the exam itself, what's the nature of it?
Okay, so the exams will take a form where questions are given to students. Just as I said, it's a take-home exam. So of course, questions are given to students. Students have the opportunity to, do their own research and provide the appropriate answers to these questions. And then of course, a reasonable timeline is given within which acceptance of such take-home exams.
Isaac, do you know the reasonable time? Do you know what constitutes the reasonable time?
Yeah, with issues of that, they are yet to roll out the examination timetable.
Okay.
Because all these things happened very quickly. They've issued the generic timetable for the rest of the academic year. But as to in terms of specifics like exam, they are still working on the timetable. But of course, we know that the exam is taking place in a period of a month.
Okay. All right. So at least you know the formats?
Yeah. Pardon?
No, I said at least you know the format. So let me come to reaction in terms of what are students saying about it?
Well, you wouldn't have, what's it called, a generic response towards a particular direction. In as much as some people might, receive this with open arms, we have a section who are still, skeptical about the whole system, citing instances of, their anxiety as to how the questions would even be like, how these lecturers would tend to, power these things up to make it seem like they want the students to outstretch their boundaries. You get it? So these are some of the concerns that students are raising. But of course, as an SRC, it is our due responsibility to look at opinion from all, across board within the student population, and then, move ahead with what is best for the entirety of students.
Okay. Joseph from GIJ, you have a unique story because you don't have an online system. So you're doing largely the emails, the assignments, but what's the format of the exam?
Okay, so somewhere on the 14th of this month, management came out with a document pertaining to how the exams will be conducted at the end of the semester. And management indicated 3 modalities of the exams. The first is for a lecturer to decide to probably give a topic on which students will be required to produce a term paper on. And this could take a week or a week and a couple of days or even 5 days for the student to submit. The second modality has to do with a lecturer giving 4 or 5 questions, essay type questions, and then a student will be given 24 hours to answer 2 of those questions.
24 hours, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 24 hours. And then the third one has to do with multiple choice questions. So a student has to answer 60 multiple choice questions within 1 hour, 30 minutes, and that's gonna strictly be online. So with that, the questions will be available between 12 hours. So let's say 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The questions are available on the school's portal. You would have to log in to access. And once you start answering, you have 1 hour, 30 minutes. So that is where we have a bit of a challenge, because if it happens that in the course of answering you develop network challenges or network issues, then your time keeps running, and when your time runs out, you can't continue answering. So that is where we have an issue. So these are the 3 modalities of the exams. And when management came up with this directive, the SRC wrote a petition.
Okay, so Joseph, experiencing what you're likely to, if you were to be answering that objectives questioning, 60 questions in an hour, 30 minutes, you could freeze and your time would be running out. But let's move from Joseph. We'll come back to Joseph when he's a lot more stable. Let's come to you, Cornelius. You've had the other institutions in terms of what is ahead with the exams. Do you know at GEMPA Law at least?
Yes, for us, management released a communique that was just yesterday. And then they did indicate to us also that the format for the exam would include multiple choice. There'll be questions where you have to give short answers, and also there'll be essays. But they also mentioned that you'll have take-home exams. For the timelines given to that, it has not been specified yet. So to figure out what the timeline will be, and then we are just hoping that it would factor in some of these concerns that we have raised concerning the internet connectivity, power outages, and then the fact that not all students are IT compliant or IT set.
Okay.
So these things would have to, yeah.
Great. Joseph, let me finish off from where we started. I was asking feedback from students. Which of these modalities are they happy? Are they most happy about? What is most comfortable? Let me not use happy, but what's comfortable in terms of network?
Okay, so when management came out with a communique on the exams, actually students protested. And as a matter of fact, for me and the SRC, we felt students protested at the initial stage because a lot of them hadn't really read the directive. So they were not happy with the whole idea of having exams online, because even with the e-learning itself, there are issues. Just like I'm having now, we could be having a Zoom meeting and then my network goes on and off just like that. So students were not happy entirely with it. But I think that further on, when we tried explaining things, with the first 2, students seem to appreciate. That is having a term paper, a number of days to work on, or having your essay type questions and having 24 hours to work on it. But with the objectives, that is where we have issues.
Okay.
Because if I'm answering and then my network goes off, it means that I'm out of the system if my time runs out, and that's it. So it's a bit of a challenge. And looking at the final year students too, the same communique indicated that our research, which is our final year project work that we're supposed to do, instead of having a full research, you would rather produce a 10 paper on your topic. And that would mean that you wouldn't have to go out for data collection, but you would have to review related literature pertaining to your topic to answer your research questions. That is in obtaining your research objectives. And that at the initial stage, a number of students had issues with, because some students had bypassed the process, the stage of data collection. So they felt like they were going to scratch the entire work and then start all over again. So we still went back to management to get these issues addressed, and there is that room for persons who have bypassed the stage of data collection to proceed with their work. And all those who haven't gotten to that stage yet can convert their work into a 10 paper. Because the social distancing and the whole lockdown thing at the time, one couldn't go out to collect data. So that is the situation with both the exams and the research for final years in a level 400 and a capstone project for the diploma students. Okay,
let me come to you, Jay. From where you sit, from all the things that you've heard, let's talk about practically what you have done as NUCS to try and get these issues resolved. So first is the issue of online connectivity and how you cannot heavily rely on it for any form of exam in real time. So if you're given an hour, 30 minutes to answer 60 objectives questions and the clock starts ticking once you log in, how do you resolve that? So practically, what have you raised with the institutions and what's the way forward?
Right. Thank you, Mama. So the concerns are genuine, they are real, and they are very rampant, I must say. You also need to look at the data once again. 1.2 million Ghanaians do not have access to television in their homes. It's a measurement of poverty situation in the country. And we're talking about homes, not individuals, because compound houses could have over 5 people in there, and there are students in almost every home in this country. We're talking about 22% of Ghanaians not also having access to electricity. And it tells you the sort of situation we find ourselves in. The cost of data and all other things has raised. Now, the first thing that we had to do was a meeting that involved the National Council for Tertiary Education, the Ministry of Education, and the Minister of Tertiary Education. Then again, we also had the representatives of the various blocks of NUCS, where we discussed some of these things, having presented a petition to the ministry. And in the petition, we raised some of these topical issues that raised. The understanding was that government was supposed to engage the telcos to come back to us for us to know the way forward. Beyond the zero rate, we are asking for more, especially for institutions who do not have, data in their, especially for institutions who do not have the e-learning platform, the Zoom platform on their campuses. That aside, we have also gone beyond to also meet the president to also put some of these concerns before him. As of yesterday, my understanding was that by Friday, I believe that the student loan issue should be solved. The issues about the network, I believe that there's more engagement. We are expecting answers for that particular issue tomorrow. But I must also take this opportunity to commend the University of Professional Studies, the University of Ghana, with the room that they have given. And I'm saying this on record, using your platform, that moving into next week, we are also going to take issues with some of the institutions. I think some of the institutions are being very, very unreasonable. Much as we take some of these pressures to government, it's also up to institutions to also look realistically at the situation and come up with ways by which they can make things flexible for their students. The average university student in final year should have been through the school for over seven semesters. Now, of these 7 semesters, we use one means of assessment, which is going to sit in the classroom for the final exams. So if the final exams for the final year students, we use an alternative means like assessments and other take-home exams and other forms like 10 paper and other things to assess the student, I don't think that it changes anything. And in some of these instances, the reason why we have to move beyond the ministry to even the institutions is that in some of this engagement, you realize that the ministry agrees with us. But you come to Vice Chancellor of Ghana, and there's this cloud of autonomy, you know what, you cannot come and tell us what to do. some of the institutions must also be held accountable. Because if other institutions have done some of these things with the understanding or belief that it is in the interest of their students, having recognized the challenges that genuinely students face, I think that is also just reasonable for others to follow suit.
So, Jay, hang in there, Jay. What in particular is the University of Ghana and the University of Professional Studies doing that you think is a good thing that should be replicated across?
Okay, so take GIJ, for instance. The president has stated the challenge of network issues and accessibility to the platform. It means that if you rely solely on the e-learning platform to write your final exams, you risk cutting a number of students off. A number of students will have to pay a price for no fault of theirs. And so University of Ghana starts with a module that says, you know what, we're not going to rely solely on the e-learning platform for the final exams. A portion of it is going to be a take-home, a portion of it is going to be a bit of an assessment. And so what it means is that you are not relying solely on the system. As a matter of fact, moving forward, some have even recommended that during the long back period, they are going to give students 2 weeks crash course for them to come on campus, for them to come and prepare and write the exam. Those who cannot catch up on the e-learning platform, there's an element of flexibility. But I cannot say same for my own institution's game back. I cannot say same for some institutions I would not want to talk about. But what I'm saying is that some institutions, there is a need to give flexibility. There is a need to give students a chance to not rely solely on the platform. And that is what UPSA and Legon have done.
Okay, let me invite you all watching to also join us. 030221169102. Yes, somebody raising an issue there. Let's hear you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to cut in a bit. So with the issue of those who cannot participate, we wrote a petition to management that management should consider indicating a clear-cut mode of assessing such students. So management responded that for persons who can genuinely not partake, then they should make their details available ahead of time that they cannot partake in the online exams or the whole e-learning process. So that after the COVID-19 pandemic is over, such persons will be given the chance to write to be assessed.
Okay.
So that's the current situation pertaining to that.
So that should be good news. That's similar to what the University of Ghana is doing. So whilst I invite people to join us via phone, let me ask you, Isaac, from the University of Ghana, Legon, generally with regards, so you see that, do you get the sense that you have a more flexible plan compared to some other institutions?
Yeah, of course. You know, and then for us, right from the onset, in as much as there were certain decisions that were taken without us, we took it upon ourselves to engage with management more. No matter how the relationship was, we took it as a step to engage with them. So first, a directive came, which caused an uproar among the student populace. We didn't also follow suit. We wrote a petition to management citing the various challenges that we are preempting. And then in citing all those things, we realized that after the final rollout was made, we had another crunch meeting, which we made 30 recommendations as well. So all those things were factored within. For instance, when you look at University of Ghana, in as much as all learning sites have been 0 rated, each and every student is getting 5 gigabytes of data every month to aid in the e-learning. In as much as it's also not sufficient, we as an SRC is even pushing for more data, an additional 10 gigabytes to help students. And then we've written letters to management, and then from our end, we are trying to work things out with the telcos to at least also provide something from the coffers of the SRC to help our students.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that we've been able to even do in our own capacity. Even though it might seem to be good on the outside, there are still some challenges within, which we are fighting so much to actually work it out.
Okay.
For instance, some students have received the data, but others are also finding it difficult to receive the data that has been promised them. That is the 5 gigabytes of data each month. So these are the people that we are still also fighting. But of course, I share in the plights of other institutions who are, also facing quite difficult times. And in that regard, I think the University of Ghana model could also be a point of reference to aid them in how they negotiate with their various management.
All right, absolutely, well. Isaac. Thank you. Let's go to the phone lines. Atta is with the University of Education, Winneba. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, let's hear you, please. You're on air.
Please, my problem is about the LMS, UEW, our LMS. It's very slow for us to use it to write exams.
When you say your elements, kindly explain.
Learning management system.
Okay.
It's very slow for us. Even when you are uploading an assignment, it's very slow for you to upload it. So we are pleading on the government to help us cancel the.
Okay, so hang on. Let's start with your institution before we go to governments. Are they aware of the challenges that you're facing with the online platform?
Yes, they are aware. Every day, sometimes we want to go to the LMS. That's the learning management system. But you go there, and they will be saying it's under maintenance.
Okay.
After that, you go there.
So what's been the response? What's been the response from the institutions? From management of the institution.
We haven't heard anything from them.
Okay. All right.
They will say it's under maintenance, so we should take time for it. But so we are very suffering right now. So
okay, we'll try and do a follow-up on that. So thank you for bringing that. Isaac is a postgraduate student at the KNUST. We're built to have the SRC president of KNUST, but I'm not sure why he hasn't joined us yet. But Isaac, good morning. Let's hear you.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Mama V here. Actually, I wanted to direct a question to the NUCS president.
To the NUCS president, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. In fact, you can follow up this with the minister to also find out. I wanted to know what they are doing about postgraduate students who are due for defense. Because the narrative seems to have not considered that at all. Are there any plans to do the defense for them via online? Because some of my recent group members in Germany, for instance, are using Zoom and the rest to do their defense. And some of us have submitted our thesis and we're supposed to do our defense as soon as possible, but nothing or nothing from the various universities, especially my university, trying to address this issue. So I hope.
So Isaac, don't hang up. Isaac, don't hang up. My producer, don't let him go. I want to just directly ask Jay. This question was directed at you. Did you hear it, Jay?
Yeah, I did, Mama V.
Okay, so Isaac, you can hang up now. Let's hear you address it.
The situation of the graduate students was heavily factored in the petition to government, and it was one of the things that received immediate response. Now, even beyond thesis defense, there was also the issue about data collection for graduate students and the timelines that they are supposed to meet for some of these things. It was agreed that no students from the graduate students fraternity is going to be penalized for failure to gather data. In fact, as at that time, lockdown was even in place, and so moving about was even a challenge. Beyond moving about, these issues about social distance and other things that have to be observed. Then again, some institutions have resorted to the use of Zoom, which, from the minister's perspective, was allowed. And so what we understand is that, yes, there are going to be extensions for graduate students for them to be able to meet their timelines. Beyond extensions, students are not going to be penalized because there are some of the works of graduate students who come to charges.
But is there a direct response to the issue of online?
Yeah, so the thesis defense, that's what I was saying, that Zoom is allowed at this stage. Where there are instances where there are challenges, that's where we can take it up.
Okay, so and this is KNUST inclusive?
But Zoom is allowed thesis defense. Aside that, like I said, that is why in we are going to move into some of the institutions, because some of the institutions are just failing to be reasonable.
Okay, I'll come to you.
With University of Education, and I'll have to mention this because the complete issue.
I'll come back to you so that you can hammer on that. Let me go to Stephen. Stephen is an MPhil student, also with the KNUST. Good morning, Stephen.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir. You're on air.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, Stephen. We can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah. I think the NUCS president is doing well by just hitting on the internet challenges, that is the network challenges, and then others. But another factor I want to bring in is on the community library, because individuals might have it, But talking about the community libraries and e-centers within the various communities, I think that if they are to even make more of such things within district capitals and others, then students might resort to, especially those within the SHS and others, might resort to such facilities for academic work and others. And we at the tertiary level can also make proper use of such facilities for exams and others. So I think the outbreak of this particular pandemic must be a wake-up call to our leaders and others to focus on vital things which are more than necessary for education.
All right. Well said, Stephen. Thank you very much. Okay. Ganyu is at the UCC. Ganyu, you're on air. Yes, sir. Let's hear you.
Yeah. I want to thank you and thank your panelists. They are doing well, and the various universities as they've been able to roll out some of these programs for us. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm thanking you and the panelists for bringing out this program, and especially the universities for rolling out the e-learning platforms for us on the
Sure. So what's the arrangement with the UCC?
For me, I'm coming from the village in Upper West. Since I came, I've not been able to reach my WhatsApp message. So I've not taken part in any of the...
So hang on, you are a student of the University of Cape Coast. Because of the suspension of education, you went back to your hometown, Upper West.
Yes, I went back to my hometown. And since then, I've not been able to go into the internet.
Oh, so you absolutely haven't received any kind of communication?
Zero. Because my place, there's no internet. The network there is not having internet service.
Okay, so but what have people told you, at least on the phone? What have they communicated to you?
I do call friends from campus who couldn't come home and they are still on campus. Yes. So what they told me is that they roll out some programs like the e-learning for them, and then they give them assignments and other things to submit. So some even they submitted, but me, who is still at the village, I couldn't have that chance to do it. So I'm still cut off. Okay. Wow.
That's tragic, but I'm going to direct your concerns to the NUGS presidents. Princess, hello, Daniel?
Hello?
Go ahead. Hello, Ganyu, you had one more thing you wanted to say. Oh, unfortunately, we lost you, Ganyu. Prince is with the Tamale Technical University. Prince, good morning. Hello, Prince.
Hello, I'm Prince. I'm calling from Tamale.
All right.
Student of Tamale Technical University.
Great. Share the plans on your campus with us.
Our campus, actually, the e-learning platform, something was not communicated to the entire student body. Our lecturers contacted us on a course base, and we are using Google Classroom and Zoom. But most of the time, not the reason here, our network is not good. And we have remote areas that are not even on network. So you find a class of about maybe 100 students. It's only 20 that are on the platform. And when the master come on Zoom to even lecture, you find only 5, 6 students in a classroom. And they are trying to give assignments, especially the Google Classroom, to assess us and other things. I think it's not at the right direction. I want management and the entire authority of the school to come or provide a platform that can benefit all students. If not so, using this e-learning platform to assess us will not be it will not be good to us.
Okay.
It will not serve the student purpose. I even suggested on our platform to the lecturers that at least they should make their handouts available to us. In my course now, we don't have even one handout that maybe if the lecturer is lecturing, that we can be using as a reference or a guide to read. So please, you, the journalists, should try and echo these things for us so that we, the student body, too, can be relieved more. Thank you very much.
I hear you. I thank you, Prince. Asamoah is my last caller, and I'll take some WhatsApp messages before we wrap up. Asamoah is a student of the University of Education. Winneba, good morning to you, Asamoah.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Let's hear you.
It's concerning about the e-learning.
hours, the system is not at all.
Hello, Asamoah, you have to come again. I didn't quite get you.
I'm saying that when talking about the e-learning, as for hours, the system is not helping us at all.
The system is not helping you. Is it the same LMS situation in terms of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you are trying to upload anything, you can't even access it. This morning, I've tried. I have an assignment that has been uploaded on the system.
Okay, but do you have a specific deadline when you have to present, within which you have to present the assignments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll try and get some answers, but thank you for sharing and raising it here. Let's take some WhatsApp messages. I'll come to you, gentlemen, for a reaction on Zoom, but here are some WhatsApp messages. Kobe Black is a student of the University of Education, Winneba. He says, this online learning has become a headache for most students across the country. There are some students who do not set their eyes on electricity after they have left the school. The next time to set their eyes on electricity is when they are back to school. As a matter of fact, we're suffering. That's coming from Kobe Black, who's a student of the University of Education, Winneba. Here's another one, says, I'm a student of the University of Energy and Natural Resources, and the e-learning platform created doesn't feature all the courses we offer normally, and the management is not informing us on any progress they're making. So the lecturers are creating WhatsApp groups and giving and submitting assignments, and others do this through Zoom, which consumes too much data, and some lecturers have created YouTube channels where they post materials for learning for not even half of the courses we offer. All right, so that's a real concern. PF Sapong is sending this WhatsApp message. I'll come to you for a quick reaction, and I'll wrap up with the rest of the messages on WhatsApp, as many as I can read. So first to you, Jay, specifically because you represent the entire student body in our country. There are some real concerns. If you look at Ganu's concerns, where from the University of Cape Coast, he's back home and he can't get access to any online platform. So he doesn't even know what's going on campus, apart from what is communicated to him via telephone. There are some others who complain about the University of Education. You mentioned them in particular. What's the issue with the University of Education?
You see, the concerns with University of Education has to do with their LMS platform. I'm not a student of University of Education, so I cannot be speaking from my point of facts, but these have been reports that I have received from my students, and so it's necessary I quote referencing the students that have engaged us and our representatives.
Well, we've had a number of calls on the show, at least this morning, and I've read some messages.
Exactly, and there's a lot of congestion on the system, and I think the modules are made available on the LMS is also very challenging. I think most of the schools, in actual fact, also have academic support systems where you can call in and put in your challenges and other things. The University of Education doesn't seem to have some of these things in place based on the information that we have. And I think that at this stage, there are some of the concerns that it is just not government that can give solutions to. We can only deal with them as much as institutions are willing to cooperate or actually admit that indeed we have some of these infrastructure challenges, and therefore we must put in place some other measures to deal with the challenges. But when everything is left on the student to make it look like, you know what, whether you like it or not, this is in place and so you have to go by it, then we are going to have a challenge with you. And so for University of Education and some of these institutions, as the report keep getting rampant, from next week we shall definitely going to take them on.
All right, let me get last comments from you. Let me start with you, Cornelius. We've seen the module from the University of Ghana. Isaac talks about sharing a lot of stuff with management even before they rolled out what they rolled out. What lessons are you learning from the other institutions? How do you think we can move forward?
First of all, I need to say that it's a commendable move by the management of University of Ghana, and then from what I'm gathering from UPSA, I think it's more of a progressive way to look at things. A student should not be disadvantaged and to the extent of deferral if they're unable to join in. So with what they have, at least once we are unable to join in or you are not able to fully join in with the online learning, there's a provision for you to at least have a top-up in 3 weeks, and then you write your exam. I think that is a good way to go. We don't have that. But most importantly, this has been a lesson to all of us in terms of how we manage our country. Because you look at issues with internet connectivity, and it's almost as if everything is centered in certain parts of Ghana, where you have a student who mentioned that he's gone back to the Upper East, and he has these challenges with internet connectivity. So we also have situations where you have students in Gempa who are in Accra simply because they are here to learn. And so going all the way, they will be cut off. We should start considering some of these modalities that are put in place by the University of Ghana and maybe implement them where I find myself. But yeah.
I want to ask you,
I think we should.
I want to ask you just before you all go, have you considered the wearing of masks and going back to school? The last time the president spoke on Sunday, the schools have been suspended again for 2 weeks. But just in case this whole suspension is lifted or cancelled, have you guys thought about going to school in mask and social distancing and how this is going to work?
I think it to depend on the university and because if you look at an institute like Gempa, you don't have many students in a classroom. But I'm sure in other traditional universities like the University of Ghana, and then they would have a lot of numbers as compared to an institute like ours. So with a social distancing, it made it very difficult. But
okay, Isaac, I think you're about saying something. To that.
I think it's not about what we think. Our president made us understand that any call to be made must be made based on expert advice, that is from the medical perspective. So if from the medical perspective it would be right for students to proceed on such a road, of course, we would embrace it holistically. But since we are not experts, pronouncements in saying that students should wear masks.
No, Isaac, that wasn't the question. The question was, have you considered, in case there's the announcement that the suspension is no longer exists, how would going to school look like?
Oh, okay. I think going to school wouldn't be the same. I mean, you would have people maintaining social distances, some of them being even extreme because the virus will still be lingering around. It would then be dependent on the university as to the approach to take. But as it stands now, from where I sit and how things look, it might be a little bit of a challenge for academic work to assume normalcy, pending within the circumstance we find ourselves.
Okay, Joseph, let me come to you for your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, so I would say that I've really thought about that, but I'm looking at it from the aspect of time. Now, management has revised the calendar, provided modalities for exams and how to close the semester and all. So assuming social distancing is called off and we are supposed to go back to the classroom, it means that all these arrangements that have been made have to be squashed or reformulated into something else. So with regards to time, going back to school within this semester will be a Herculean task. But if it has to do with the next academic year, then fine. But go back to school this period would be very difficult, especially when to even find various means possible to partake in the exams and all.
All right. Jay, you've been talking to the presidents. You've been speaking to the ministry as well. So has this been considered?
Well, what I can say is that a number of considerations are on the table, including even looking at phases. For instance, having possibly final year students go and complete their semester, their final semester, and then subsequently having the others also follow. It must also be noted that during this period, we have a long vacation period of about 3 months, which can be phased into writing exams to ease the congestion. Because realistically, our campuses are congested. And for me, I agree with Isaac, it will be based on expert advice. But looking at the issues critically, looking at the congestion on our campuses,
okay, so this again is the reality that we face. We can't have a full conversation with the system freezing on us. But largely, I think your submission, we understood what you said. So I want to say thank you to you, gentlemen, for making the time and joining us for this very important conversation. Really appreciate it. NUGS President Isaac J. Hyde, Isaac Agyemang, SRC President, University of Ghana, Joseph Agbazuka, SRC President, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, Cornelius Bratting, LSE President, GEMPA. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for all the messages, lots of messages that we've received that unfortunately I can't share all. This one says, I think the College of Education are being left out. George in Kwewu. There are concerns also of those in the nursing institutions as well. So there will be a follow-up conversation on the back of what we've just had, noting all the concerns that you've sent through. We thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us when we come back. Adonko Group donates to health and other facilities to help fight COVID-19. Details on our show.
Well, and then we have to keep the conversation ongoing. And all the content we've been delivering to you has been about how efforts are being made to ensure that we're able to fight this. I'm talking about coronavirus. And I did enjoy that interaction that Mama Vioso Abuaje had with various student leaders across the country in Ghana's universities about how they think that their institutions undertaking distance learning or using the alternative means of technology to enhance teaching and learning within the period. And I'm hoping that all these efforts for the various sectors will come to a head, and ultimately Ghana will be the better for it. And talking about that, we do know that various institutions have also been donating to ensure that everybody comes on board, and government and its COVID-19 team is able to monitor as well as do the right things and to ensure that we're able to nip this in the bud. And well, we do have the Adonko Group. They also have been undertaking that effort by way of not only their corporate social responsibility, but also raising emphasis on this. And they've brought together a number of initiatives that are all geared towards it. Now, we want to interact with them, get to know what really they've packaged for this period and what has been their latest. I have Owusu Setre Agyemang. He's a business development manager for Adonko Group. Good morning to you. And I see that you've undertaken a number of initiatives until now. What have they been?
Okay, Adonko Hand Sanitizer is a product well engineered by Adonko Bitters Company Limited, which happens to be a subsidiary of Angel Group of companies. And as a formidable company, we have great respect for corporate social responsibility. And this product was, came into being per the emergence of the virus quite recently. And as a company, we know that we are not in normal times, but hard times. So in the course of the year, we structured a CSR project. The first phase of the project, I think the founder of the group, in the person of Dr. Kwekuwotin, under his tutelage, mandated that we give out certain key items, food items, and monies to the tune of 800,000 Ghana cedis. We gave out to orphanages and hospitals and the needy, I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what you've done over the period.
Exactly.
But alternatively, I also know that you're into a number of things, not only alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, but you also have pharmaceuticals as well.
You're into herbal, but...
Yes, herbal. Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, alternative medicine, as we call it. Exactly. And you've produced hand sanitizers.
Yes.
And these have come in handy. Have they been in the market for a very long time?
For quite some time. Per the emergence, as I emphasized earlier, of the coronavirus.
And have you donated some of them already?
Yes, we have.
To which institutions specifically?
To the media houses, I would say, and largely to hospitals and orphanages across Ghana.
But if it has to be on the market, which already is, it means that it goes by way of what sort of sales and the promotion for this?
What's happening is we have agents all over Ghana, in every region. So we have certain numbers, I think they will be put out on the screen. And as and when, it's a 24-hour customer service center. So as and when people call, we connect to the agents and the supply is being made. That's if you want to wholesale or it's for personal use.
Okay. Can you share the numbers with us? Okay, the customer. So we'll get that for you. But it also means that you've been doing a lot when it comes to the fight. Before we get to share the numbers with would-be perhaps retailers or wholesalers, what is the grand plan for the ADOM Group for the COVID-19 nationally?
Well, as a company, we understand that we are not in normal times, but very, very, very hard times. So the interest is not really into profit making, but helping Ghanaians, practically, yes. And so that's why we have, like I mentioned, we have a series of projects. The other one is gone, and the second one will come in no time, just to donate largely to people.
It will mean that a lot of investment has gone in.
Exactly.
By what quantum?
Well, I can't mention that.
You can't mention that for now. But alternatively, when it comes to the COVID fight, what have been your observations so far, especially the base where you operate, whether it's your manufacturing hub, and then alternatively also where your distribution points are? Would you say have been the way we've been able to fight this coronavirus?
Well, I would say, okay, fine, let me say this product has come to stay. And per what's happening, I think Ghanaians will be disciplined. And even if COVID should go tomorrow, we should stick to the preventive measures being emphasized by health professionals and the president as well.
The bottles are just similar to what you do. The bottles, the containers.
Exactly.
But did you specifically manufacture them for this, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Just specifically manufactured for this. Okay, so how much do they go on the wholesale and retail market?
All right, this small one is 125 ml.
Okay.
And that's 8 cedis wholesale. That's 10 cedis on the market.
Okay.
And the 200 ml, 12 Ghana cedis wholesale price, and 15 on the market. Yes.
And this is special because?
Quality-wise, it's on top. What happened in the course of the year before we produced this product was we did what we call the industry check or research. And we realized that many brands on the market do not have the sealant ingredients necessary to produce a sanitizer. In my last check, I think just about a quarter ago, we realized that people dwell on starch and mixed with ethanol, which is very bad. What we have in this one is glycerin, that's one of our major components, and lime, and what's the name? The glycerin is the moisturizer, of course, and lime as well.
So according to the ingredient, based on the content that you have here, you have ethyl alcohol, which is 70%, and the range from which it is acceptable medicinally, and then we have distilled water, glycerin. We also do have hydrogen peroxide, and then also a fragrance.
Exactly. Which you can't find in other brands, you know.
Yes, yes.
And the reason why we added the moisturizer is, you know, ethanol, of course, has an effect on the skin with overtime usage. So the question is, if COVID is going to go long over 3 years, that means if you're going to use raw ethanol, that would affect your skin. So that's why we've added the moisturizer to protect your skin.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's moisturizer.
Exactly.
To moisturize.
And to keep your skin.
Yeah, and it's got a nice fragrance too.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, and going forward, what do you intend to do as a group, knowing that we have at least a couple of months going by what the WHO and the other relevant scientific community are saying before we're able to get out of the woods when it comes to coronavirus? What do you intend doing as a group?
The plan is to make the product easily accessible. As I mentioned earlier, we have agents all over Ghana, in every other region. Yes, so the focus primarily in the next few months is that consumers or people of Ghana would have easy access to the product. That's number one. And we urge all and sundry to embrace all the preventive measures highlighted, and especially by the president over the weekend, which is very, very key.
Do you have the go-ahead of your shareholder to donate more?
Certainly.
Okay.
Like I told you, we've outlined certain CSR projects. The first phase is gone. That's when we give out the 800,000 Ghana cedis to people, and we give out bottles of this product to the tune of 150,000 exactly. So the second phase, I'm sure, would come in no time, possibly next month. We shall donate largely and give out monies to people to help them.
To keep giving.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an enlightening conversation, and we're hoping that we can have you back in the studio to, again, broaden the discussion overall on coronavirus. But we've had in the studio the Business Development Manager for Adonko Bitters, Owusu Setre Agyemang. Thank you very much. All right, we have to go for a break. When we come back, we're going to have Kadi right here in the studio. We want to talk entertainment, and on AM Showbiz, we'll have an interaction with the organizers of 3 Music Awards. You know them, and they were supposed to have convened that before the break. And look, they own a number of initiatives to ensure this is brought back onto the center table, and we're hoping that we'll have all these laid out to you. Stay with us.
Yeah, so that was a video from last year's 3 Music Awards program. Now we are thinking of what to expect this year, since it's a virtual concert, and we have the PRO for 3 Music Awards, Obed Boafo, on the line. Hello, Obed. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. How are we?
Yeah, I'm okay. I hope you're fine.
I'm good. I'm good. Very great.
Okay, so we want to know, the awards is coming off on this Saturday, the 2nd of May, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so what's going into this event since it's virtual?
Yes, so as the name suggests, we are not going to have audiences more than 25 as the protocols go. So we are dealing with a strictly limited number that allows us to accommodate just 25 people, which means that, I mean, your typical 25 will comprise of some event staff, some performers, and then obviously some 1 or 2 people that we will need for our production.
Okay, so we want to know about the winners. How are the award winners for the night going to receive their awards?
Okay, so we wouldn't want to let the cat out of the bag. These are things that we are keeping very close to our chest. Definitely on Saturday, and as viewers on the various multimedia platforms will get to know, we are going to put together a very grand show. As to the technicalities and the modalities and the dynamics, we will definitely have to wait till Saturday to discover how we'll go about all of that. This is a novelty for us. But I'm pretty sure you've seen how some have been done, I mean, globally. But then we are going to do this in an entirely different way, and viewers will have something to look forward to on Saturday.
In an entirely different way. Can you enlighten us a bit?
Yes, virtual. I mean, which means that you're definitely going to have some performances coming through virtually, and this is something we've already communicated. We are going to have some performance blocks. By blocks, we mean, I mean, the various layers of our performances. We are not going to have more than a certain number, again, because of, I mean, COVID-19 protocol, the protocols that we have to observe. So definitely you are going to have some performances from the venue that will be coming live from, and also some will have to come through virtually.
Okay, so what time will it be happening?
We should go live latest by 8 p.m. We should go live across all the platforms that we've advertised.
Okay, now to my very last question. How is this change of format going to impact the program, and what are the plans to deal with them?
It does. I mean, we can't emphasize that point enough. Commercially, it has taken a lot away from the event, but which is why we want to make up for what we are going to produce on Saturday. I mean, we are very confident about how Stella is going to be on Saturday. A lot of gains were made prior to the cancellation of the main physical event. We want to make up for the gains lost. We really want to make amends, and we really want to go in hard. So definitely we are going all out, and we are going to give Ghanaians and then patrons of the 3 Music Awards something good.
Okay. But will some of these artists be performing from their homes, or all of them will be performing at the venue?
Okay, so as I did indicated early on, we are going to have some performances, and this is something we captured earlier. I mean, in our previous two statements, that we are going to have some performances on stage, and then some also have to come through virtually. So that has been dealt with. Okay. We are currently in production. I mean, we have less than 48 hours to go. We are in production. Some of the artists who perform on stage are coming through, and we are going to see to the fine art artists. So definitely, you will see some performances on stage, and then some will also come through virtually.
Okay, all right, Obed, that's all. I think we are satisfied now. Thank you very much for honoring this interview.
Thank you, too.
Okay. Yeah, so that was Obed Boafo, and he's a PRO for 3 Music Awards, and he was telling us what to expect on Saturday. Now, the show starts at 8 p.m. and it will be live on Joy Prime, so don't miss that. My name is Kadi, and that's all we have for Showbiz for this morning.
Well, that's it for now. Thank you for joining us over the last course of nearly 3 hours. Please make sure that you get interactive. Facebook, Joy News on TV, always available for you. Twitter handle is also just some seconds away. We're talking about at Joy News on TV. Get interactive always and add the hashtag Joy News all the time. Bye-bye. Join us same time tomorrow, 6 to 9.